MediaQuest Holdings, the parent company of TV5 Network, has signed a landmark deal with ABS-CBN, capping off months of negotiations.
Under the investment agreement, ABS-CBN will acquire nearly 6.5 million primary shares, or roughly 35% stake in TV5, while MediaQuest will remain the controlling shareholder.
We now can achieve our cherished goal in greater measure of providing quality content across entertainment, sports and news in the service of the Filipino people.
We look forward to this strengthened partnership as we see the opportunity to help TV5 grow. For ABS-CBN, it presents an exciting opportunity to achieve synergies in content production.
ABS-CBN is thankful to the Kapatid Network for the historic partnership.
I am happy and honored to be able to recognize and say what is a matter of fact. Ang ating mga kapatid ay ang ating mga kapamilya.
Ang kapatid ay kapamilya. Joining forces, MediaQuest and ABS-CBN sign an investment deal that will allow both to hold minority stakes in each other's holdings. What does this mean for the Philippine broadcast industry? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. Ako po si Roby Alampay. Kasama po natin online Lingao of One News. Mamaya sasamahan din po tayo ni Ami Pamintuan ng Philippine Star. Good evening. Welcome back, Bok!
Hello, good to be back. Matagal-tagal ako nawala.
Ano ba nangyari sa'yo?
Kung may double dead na karne, nag-double hit ako ng COVID. I'm now on my 12th day of isolation or 13th day of isolation already.
Okay. Mild naman. Nothing serious.
Sipon-sipon lang, tsaka konting ubo. Nothing deadly that I can see.
While you were gone, may lumabas na naman na virus. I'm looking at the news right now. Itong langya virus na rini-report nila sa China. Although we have to say, everyone, it is another zoonotic disease. Supposedly, it's passed on by a shrew to humans, but there's no evidence of human-to-human transmission, and the symptoms are mild, known to be mild.
Yeah, pero basta zoonotic, it's always a possible cause for concern kasi transferent. Tumalon yan eh. And yung concern talaga parate, di ba? Tsaka yung pagka nagkahawaan, always the concern about mutation. And the more people get it, the more chances of mutation. That's what we're seeing with the subvariants and the different variants. Pero in the meantime, so far, it's just been reported. It's something that the WHO is also taking note of, but not necessarily concerned. In the meantime, another piece of news, habang wala ka, Ed, ito, nabuo na tong agreement between the kapatid and the kapamilya. Mga kapatilya raw. At least hindi kasabot, di ba? Ang sabi nga naman nila, ang kapatid ay kapamilya.
Kanina, I was talking to Jane Basas, our boss here at MediaQuest. Sabi niya, we will remain, of course, kapatid, but whatever it is, the values, of course, between the kapatid and kapamilya are all aligned. And it looks like this is really something that certainly is cause for excitement here, but also will have really tremendous potentials for the nation as a whole.
Yeah, but you'd also imagine the number of questions that have been raised because of that deal. From the public, not just from people in the industry, but also from the public. For example, how it changes programming content for the two networks, as well as possibly, if at all, kung meron changes in staffing and so on down the line. All these questions.
Oo nga. Yeah, pero lilinawin ko na muna, I'll get this out of the way para lang mabalitaan mo rin si Mogs. Tinanong ko kanina kay Ms. Jane, in terms of programming, mukhang wala talagang pag-asang maisalba si Probinsyano eh. mukhang talagang hindi. This will not be a lifesaver for Provinciano. So we're still looking forward to Darna. But in the meantime, what are the other things that we're looking forward to? And to Ed's point, what are the questions actually that we still have to confront? This is still in the agreement phase. There is still going to be some weeks until the closing, as Ms. Basas said kanina. But here to talk about the landmark deal between MediaQuest and ABS-CBN from an industry perspective. Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas, President Herman Basbaño, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Chiefs, Mr. Basbaño.
Yeah, thank you, Roby. Good evening, Ed. Good evening, everyone.
Sir, kayo, what's your take on this development? ABS-CBN and TV5 joining forces.
Well, in an open and free society that we are in, this is a most welcome development, Roby, no? Even not only from us in the industry, but I think the general public welcomes this development in this partnership between ABS and TV5.
But to Ed's point kanina, and like he said, it's not just Ed, it's not just us, it is being asked by many people. Some people have already, even within the NTC, have asked, is this something that the NTC should look at? Is this something that the Philippine Competition Council should look at? Your thoughts on all of those things that have to be clarified?
Well, maybe just have to be open to whatever scrutiny that they would like to do, no? But I am sure that both your legal teams and your organizations have taken all things into consideration. I would like to believe that all fronts have been covered. So siguro, medyo safe naman kayo. Although, of course, no, let's wait and see kung ano mangyari. Because I'm sure, of course, there are those, and many are really supporting this, including us in the KBP, of course, no? Yeah. But you just have to expect that there will be those who really question this. No?
But sir, there are those who are raising other questions as well. Among them, for example, Congressman Marcoleta. He was raising the specter of a monopoly, the need to investigate the possibility that there's a monopoly that's emerging from this deal, as well the need now for the Philippine Competition Commission to look into whether this violates the competition law. From your perspective, Paul, is there anything that heads in that direction as far as monopolies or anti-competition is concerned?
I would like to believe that, on the contrary, this is even an antidote to what they're calling as a monopoly, because the present situation, there seems to be a sort of a monopoly, no? Because we know that there is one TV network that seems to lord over the TV net broadcast industry, no? So parang baliktad yata, no? Na maging monopoly siya. This would open up to, healthier and better competition siguro ang mangyari, because we know that ABS is something. It's not just na biglang sumulpot din, bigla na lalabas na magprograma. They have the experience, and I am sure ang programa nila will answer some of those questions. Maraming pagpilian ng tao natin. They'll have more choices.
Well, sir, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, also just to get some perspective on how big a development this is. You're with the KBP. Historically, has there been any kind of a partnership like this in the past that can give us some insights of what might be coming, and what are some scenarios that we might not be anticipating or that we could anticipate? Can you think of something in the past?
None that I can recall of, Roby, no? This is huge. I mean, two big organizations, two big corporations coming into terms, no? Although I haven't read all the terms and the provisions that are being discussed, no? But this is really something. Dalawang malalaking organisasyon to na, you have all the infrastructure, you have all the system, you have the people, and the content. That is something. Meron din kayo dyan sa TV5. Then, of course, ang ABS-CBN, they're noted for that also. So this is really something. Wala pang nangyari na ganito, Roby, as far as I can recall.
Sir, just to follow up on one of our earlier questions. Earlier kasi today, the NTC, through, I think it was, Commissioner Gamaliel Cordoba, spoke over state radio saying na ABS-CBN will have to clear certain violations first before going into any sort of agreement with MediaQuest and TV5. Although it's not really clear exactly what he was referring to in terms of violations, because if I recall correctly, in the previous House hearings, the NTC practically cleared ABS-CBN of violations. Did you see it? Do you see anything here? Kailangan daw munang bago maaprubahan ng NTC, kasi kung hindi raw baka harangan nila yung agreement, kailangan daw isaayos muna yung mga violations ng ABS-CBN.
Well, maybe that is based on a memo that has been issued by the NTC, no? Now, whatever commercial agreements has to, be scrutinized by them first, no? And there has to be a clearance also, no, that should be issued by certain agencies of the government. Baka yun ang kailangan, baka that is what being referred to, no, by Commissioner Cordoba. So sa kanya yun, no? But if ABS-CBN have been issued clearances before, then that will not be a problem. I don't know what he's referring to talaga, no, na violation. Maybe we can ask Com Cordoba about that.
Okay. How do you see it impacting, I mean, not just the competition with the dominant network, with GMA, but in the wider scheme of things for the entire broadcast industry? What do you see as the impact of this development?
Well, malaking bagay ito, no? Ako, it's more of the impact is positive to everyone, even to GMA, di ba? If there is competition, it brings out the best in us. Kailangan natin yun. Sa ngayon, sabi natin, there seems to be one. No? Although, of course, every network, every TV station that are operating are doing their best. But let's face reality. It's GMA that is lording over everything as of now. No? And this is the answer to that. And the impact is that, sabi ko nga, there will be healthier competition because of this development. And then, of course, daming impact ito, even in the economy. There is a generation of employment. Alam natin, marami na lang ng trabaho nang nagsara yung ABS-CBN. That is one impact as well. No? Even sa loading ng commercial, I am sure, yung kuminsan, nagreklamo iba na yung isang network, may overloading yata. So, the chance that the ads will be spread into other networks, including itong bagong merger na to.
Okay. Herman Basbaño, presidente po ng Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in your program. Magandang gabi po. Stay safe and get well.
Thank you, sir.
And we will start up another conversation after the break. Keep it here on One News.
Both.
Pope Francis admits he is more frail now and needs to slow down. That statement is fueling two speculations. One, that is Pope Francis saying that he's ready to retire. And then, of course, that also always comes with Filipinos starting to speculate as to the fate and the prospects of Cardinal Tagle. To share his insights, we have Father Aris Sison of the St. John Paul II Parish. Welcome to the Chiefs, Father Aris.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Father. Good to have you.
Father, before we get deeper into this, maybe just an update what we know about the state and health of Pope Francis. We do have to say this is all speculation at this time. On the other hand, the speculations, even by news outlets in the Vatican, are pointing out, his pain in the knee. That's on record naman. A lot of canceled trips as well as his own words. A lot of his ruminations now about old age and not being delusional about keeping your youth forever. But what do we actually know about his health right now?
Well, Pope Francis is 85 years old. He will be 86 in December 17. We know he has only one lung. He had a major surgery a few months ago where I don't remember how many inches of his colon was removed. He has been seen using a wheelchair. We know he has been suffering from sciatica for quite a while, and he has admitted that he has been in pain. He has undergone some kind of therapy for his knee, and this is the reason why he was seen as using a wheelchair for some time. Yesterday, he was already using a cane. So he's getting old. He's 85, and he's showing signs of age. And yes, he has spoken a number of times about aging. He has given hints about retiring, but that's all we know for now. All this speculation about Cardinal Tagle being one of the candidates to be the next pope started with an article in the Catholic Herald, a London-based newspaper, last Friday, August 5. Actually, there were two cardinals mentioned to be the leading contenders, Cardinal Erdo from Hungary and Cardinal Tagle from the Philippines.
Kasi ni Cardinal Tagle, it's too early daw, too premature to
Exactly.
get a success for the Pope, and he's there in Rome.
Exactly. The Pope may be getting old, but he is alive.
Yes.
He is alive and if you saw him during his last trip to Canada, he was relatively strong.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
I was thinking he might not push through with the trip, but that is one of the trips that is very important to him. Now there is news that he will most probably go to Kazakhstan in September.
Kaya nga.
So he's doing well. He's doing well.
So
Pero
wala
paano
siyang
bang
balak
process
mag-resign. Wala siyang balak mag-resign. Dahil yung iba, yun ang sinasabi. And I think he made a statement quite a while back.
He made a statement on the Day of Grandparents on July 24. when he was speaking to the grandparents present about aging. And somehow he said that he is also getting old. So that was interpreted by many of those present as one of the hints. I think last week he also named a nurse as his medical assistant. And again, it was interpreted by Vatican is so he is well and he has not resigned. So for those who are asking about possibilities of the next Pope, I would say pray for the Pope. More than anything else, pray for the Pope. No.
Father, for the last more than 600 years, at least until Pope Benedict, all the other previous popes, at least for those 600 years, were popes were popes for life, regardless of the state of their health, whether physical or mental. I am wondering lang when Pope Francis opened up the idea, although he's not saying that he will, but he opened up the idea that if his health calls for it, then he may step down. What does that mean to the church? What's the significance of a voluntary stepping down of the Pope and not the Pope staying on for life?
Yeah, a consecutive retirement for that matter. Yeah.
Personally, when Pope Benedict resigned in 2013, somehow I felt it opened the doors. But because before him, it was Pope Celestine V in 1294. He was the last one to retire because he was a monk and he was a hermit and he never really wanted to be Pope. Okay, so somehow I personally feel that after Pope Benedict XVI resigned in 2013, I felt he somehow opened the door. And so parang it's a distant, now it's a possibility. In the past, they serve for life. Like we all know John Paul II was suffering, and he was suffering so much. And he has expressed that he has wanted to resign, but he decided not to. So.
Hey, Father, I just wanna probe a little bit more on that, especially that metaphor of opening the door. Maybe you could give us some perspective on this very topic. Has it been a latent debate that was actually ongoing? Was it actually a taboo at a certain point to even consider that? But given that you now have potentially two popes, one after the other, retiring, widening that door, does that basically surface a conversation that has been there for a long time?
I think this is the reason behind the speculations. People who follow the Vatican beat, if you want to call it that way, know that it is a possibility, and somehow it is possible to interpret what Pope Francis has been doing as signs. That's all. That's all we know. That's all we know. Is Pope Francis going to resign? We don't know. The last time he was asked about that on the plane on his way back from Canada, he said something like, "The Holy Spirit will whisper to me if that is what he wants."
Well, with the speculation about the resignation, there's also speculation about the possible candidates and whether they are conservative like Pope Benedict or liberal like the current Pope. Kung sakasakaling si Cardinal Tagle ang mapili, what will he be more like, since you know him quite well?
Frankly, I don't like those distinctions. Conservative, progressive. I don't really like those distinctions. I would rather put it this way. Pope Benedict was an academic. He's a theologian. He has 8 doctorate degrees, and he has written so many books. He has spent his life teaching, studying, writing. So that's his background. No, it's the complete. The opposite of Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, who is so much of a pastor. He lived with the people, he worked with the people. So talagang magkaiba sila. No? I would simply say they preach the gospel of Jesus Christ as they see fit, as they have experienced it, and as they see realities around them. Like we see Pope Francis very much as a pastor, no? Because that's the life that he lived in Argentina, no? Very much like Pope John Paul II, who was also a pastor, but at the same time a philosopher. No? So each person is really different depending on his background, depending on his training, depending on the kind of life that he lived before he became Pope.
Father, what was the basis naman for this reporter or this newspaper for saying that Cardinal Tagle will probably be a likely candidate for the papacy? Is it because, we also read of reports that he's been entrusted with many functions by no less than Pope Francis himself? If so, if this is true, what are those functions that probably triggered the talk that Cardinal Tagle could be eyed as a candidate?
First of all, it's Cardinal Tagle is the first Filipino cardinal to head such an important office, the Congregation for Evangelizations. No? You know that the head of that office was traditionally called the Red Pope.
Yeah.
No? Just to show how much power and influence they had. No? But we also had another Filipino cardinal, Cardinal Sanchez, who headed an office, a department in the Vatican. No? He was not as popular as Cardinal Tagle has become nowadays. No? But allow me to step on the brakes at this point. No? The papacy is not a matter of popularity. You don't campaign for someone to become Pope. In my life as a priest, I have closely watched 2 conclaves already. And in particular, I was so involved I studied very well the conclave that elected Benedict and then Francis. And we had a very hard time. I was in one of the networks when the white smoke came out, the conclave of March 13, 2013. And we had the CVs of the leading candidates, the papabili or preferiti, as sometimes they are called. And we were at a loss because Mario Bergoglio was not in any of the lists. No. There is a saying that goes, "He who goes into the conclave a pope comes out a cardinal." So I have been telling friends who want Cardinal Tagle to be Pope, if you want him to be Pope, shut up, keep quiet, and just pray.
Okay.
Kasi wala, you can't campaign for it. No? And all of this All of these speculations are, I have been smiling at all of the articles and all the memes and all the posts that came out since Friday. I just smile at them, really.
Father, so yung article ng Catholic Herald could just be the opinion of the author, not necessarily. Kasi in the end, it's the conclave that elects the Pope. You're looking at what, 115 or 120 cardinals?
120 cardinals max.
Yes, Father.
Allow me to tweak that a bit. It's the Holy Spirit who chooses the next Pope. Whether you believe it or not, it is the Holy Spirit who will choose the next Pope.
Okay. Father, I'll take you up on that note and zoom out a bit and veer away from the personalities, veer away from Pope Francis in particular, and just ask, given that we are talking about still leadership, the importance of the leadership, maybe it's not the polity of the Vatican to be talking about it in these terms, but people do speculate about leadership because they want to know direction. They want to know direction because they want to know how this institution confronts this world. So I guess my question broadly is, how is the church right now?
How do I answer that?
We'll need the whole episode, Father.
No. Because I'm thinking of it also in terms of the pandemic. I remember a report of so many baptisms in Europe a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken, around Easter, and I was pleasantly surprised because I was saying, in Europe at this time of the pandemic, so there is growth. If you will ask me about how I see people in my own parish, in my own community, there's a steady number of baptisms. Of course, yes, there was a decline in church attendance because of the pandemic. But since we were allowed to accept people in the church, there has been an increase. So I have been from one Mass every Sunday, I'm now up to 5 Masses on Sundays, plus another one on Saturday evenings. So the church is well. The church is well.
But do you feel
there is a steady increase in membership, and people are going back again to church?
But there have been highly, quite overt introspections institutionally by the church when it comes to matters of values as well as really cultural changes worldwide. To Ami's point earlier, between the conservatives all the way to the progressives, for that matter, all the way even to the liberals, on questions of women, of questions of LGBT rights, and so on. How do you feel the church is going, especially now having gone through a more progressive leadership under Pope Francis? Has there been a deep, fundamental shift or change? I don't want to say progress because I don't know how people want to characterize that. But has there in fact been fundamental, lasting shift in the culture and the thinking of the church?
I would say Pope Francis brought about a kind of openness in the church's way of looking at reality, of addressing needs of people. I'll give you a concrete example. A few months ago, a gay couple came to me asking to baptize their child. This is a gay couple. And I was told that they have been to 2 other churches, and they were turned away. And when they came to me, I accepted it. I accepted it. I baptized the child. The only thing I did not do, I said, I will baptize your child, but I cannot put the two of you as father and mother. So one of them is the biological father of the child, and I said I can put your name as the biological father of the child, and they accepted. So for me, that's one concrete example of how the church is facing present-day realities.
Mhm.
What about yung inclusiveness as, I mean, that's a trend these days. Every organization, every institution, even Hollywood, as you know, is talking about how to be more inclusive. Is this something that, well, at least put some pressure on the Catholic Church to also be more inclusive in the choice of the candidates for Pope? Because they're talking about Asia hindi pa represented ever sa papacy. I mean, they've never had an Asian Pope, mga ganyan. Is that a factor that's even considered these days?
I can't speak about the papacy, but there is going to be a consistory. There's a new batch of cardinals that will be created on August 27. And the cardinals, the first duty of the cardinals is to elect the Pope, while they themselves are candidates to be Pope. And it is amazing to look at the list, because in the past, I think because of travel, because of communications, that it was limited basically to that. And I would like to add, their way of doing things, kasi yun yung malapit yun yung mga kilala, no? But now, one of the beautiful things that has been happening in the church is that, like Singapore, of course, it's a first world country, but Singapore is getting its first cardinal, William Cardinal Go. Ghana is also getting another cardinal. No? Timor-Leste is getting one. So, we don't know about the papacy, but the College of Cardinals is now getting members from all places all over the world.
Father, I want to ask you about interest in joining the clergy. Tumataas ba siya or bumababa? I'm just following up the question of Roby,
Yeah,
the Catholic Church.
I teach in the seminary, in the Immaculate Conception Seminary in Giginto, Bulacan, and there has been a steady number of seminarians. What I have observed is that there seems to be a change in the demographics. Parang there are more and more vocations coming from the provinces. Pero marami tayong bukasyon.
Pero tumutuloy sila? Tumutuloy sa priesthood, yung mga seminarian?
Oo, marami naman.
What about the women? Are they still interested in joining the nunnery?
I don't have numbers, but I know of many congregations that have plenty of vocations.
But
I understand we are exporting nuns na raw, di ba?
Yes. I think it was Cardinal Sin who spoke about that when he was Archbishop of Manila, that sabi niya, dati Europe was sending us missionaries.
Yes.
Now we are the one sending missionaries abroad. And yes, that is true. That is true. We have many Filipino missionaries abroad.
But Father, that scales up the question of AMI, no? Parang you responded that in the seminary where you teach, this is what you see. But I guess ang question ko is, on a global level, are you seeing that same trend?
It depends. It depends on which part of the globe you will be looking at. The other day, there was a news flash that Cambodia has its first native priest. South Korea every year has so many vocations, and I think it was Mexico who had 70 priests ordained last December. No? So maraming magandang balita about vocations all over the world. Medyo konti talaga sa Europe. No? That's something that is quite true. Kaya nga, we are the ones now sending missionaries to that part of the world.
Father Pabo lang from an ex-seminarian.
Ex-seminarian, totoo yan.
Third journalist.
I'll go back to
mga ganyang track dyan.
I'll go back to the papacy. You mentioned a while ago that there's a new batch of cardinals that will be created in, I suppose, in the next few weeks. How many?
27.
In 2 weeks. So, Father, how many cardinals are going to be created? And are the cardinals chosen by the current Pope? I asked that because I'd like to ask also, would it be safe to assume that the cardinals chosen by a Pope could or would likely think along the same lines as the Pope who appointed them? And would that therefore affect any vote in the future as to the next Pope?
Okay, let me give you some numbers. As of August 8th, so this is Monday, there are a total of 206 cardinals, but only 116 of them are cardinal electors. Let me explain. Cardinal electors are those 80 and below. So once you reach the age of 80, you are no longer eligible to vote. Now, so on August 27, there will be 16 new cardinal electors, but there will also be 4 non-voting electors. Non-voting cardinals. Ito yung, I don't know if my term is correct, pero may mga parang honorary cardinals, parang somehow they are recognized for their work in the church. No? So even if they are above 80, they are named cardinals.
So, Father, that's more than 10% of the current number of elective cardinals that will be added to the group.
Well, yes, because Pope Francis has been. You mean to say this new batch?
Yes, Father.
16 cardinals, yeah.
But Father, if you factor in the new batch and the updated total to what you're projecting, what's the split there? Let's just say generically between North and South.
You mean to say they're from their origin?
Yeah, North, South. North referring to Europe, Northern America, South being the developing world.
I don't know how. I have numbers here. I don't know how accurate they are. From the cardinal electors, it seems 15 are from Africa, 22 from North America, 49 from Europe. So majority pa din ang Europe, and still a big majority. 15 from Asia.
But I guess that the point lang there, I'm sure you see the point there, that notwithstanding as you see, I mean, a declining participation, let's say in Europe, and the majority of the Catholics now in the development world an outsized representation of Europe still in that electing body.
Yeah, I see your point. I see your point there.
Yeah, but
how do you explain that?
Yes, and what does it mean for, for a church that needs to be in touch with its flock?
Well, allow me to say this. In the past, it was practically all of them were from Europe. So I would rather look at it and say there's a growing number of cardinals from other parts of the world. The majority is still from Europe, but I think it's significant to mention that there are now cardinals from other parts of the world. In the past, wala. I remember, for example, Pope John the 23rd when he named Rufino Cardinal Santos as the first Filipino cardinal. So that was something very, very new. And now we have had we have a total of 8 from the Philippines. So it's growing. It's growing. I would put it that way.
Father, throughout the pandemic, you were hanggang ngayon actually, you're live streaming masses. Ano yung impact nun dun sa church attendance now that face-to-face masses 100% are allowed again? Tutuloy niyo pa rin ba yun? And ano yung naging impact sa inyo?
First of all, allow me to say that here in my parish, we did not have online masses, televised masses before the pandemic. No, so we just started it 2 days since the lockdown, and many people say it was a very big help. No, very big help. Since we were on alert level 1. We have reduced the number of online masses. So 1 online mass na lang kami a day. Even on Sundays, we say only 1 online mass. And we have been telling our people, if you're going out, if you're working, if you're dining out, then you should be going to face-to-face mass already. Marami namang bumabalik na, no? Pero this I will admit na mukhang may mga nasanay sa online mass.
Yes.
Yeah, may mga nasanay sa online mass at tinatamad, no? So I think that will be once the pandemic ends, I think that is going to be one of the challenges, no, to really bring back people to face-to-face mass.
Well, Father, I can also imagine the problem of reaching out to the flock online. It's like, I suppose it's like online schooling. Yes, you are in touch, but you're not necessarily that much in touch as when you are face to face.
Have you tried to check how it is from the point of view of the students? Because I have checked with my students. I said, because I did not teach whether online or face-to-face for 2 years. So it was only this June that I started teaching again. And I asked them, I told my students, I said, guys, tell me frankly, how is the experience? Do you learn? Did you learn anything? And it's interesting to find out how much or how little the students really gain from it. So I have been asking professors in the seminary and other friends who teach wherever. I said, kamusta kaya yung magiging graduate natin, yung mga graduate ng mga online classes natin? No? Like my students did not have any exposure for 2 years. And how will it be? I wonder how the doctors who are products of online classes will be. No, I don't know, will you have the confidence to be their patient? Kung graduate ka ng online classes. Parang matatakot yata ako.
But Father, I mean, we're almost out of time, but I just want to explore the other side to that. The disadvantages are very, very clear. The limitations are very, very clear. But what were the strengths, if any? What were some pleasant surprises to catechism and evangelizing online?
Okay. For a number of months, I heard from people that they were going to Mass every day. So that was something. So because of the lockdown and because of the difficulties of the pandemic, people learned to pray. Just this morning, someone was telling me how much he learned from me during the lockdown. Sabi niya, araw-araw daw sinusundan niya ako. And he was even saying, you know, Father, I took notes every day. So if you want, I can share my notes with you. So I am happy. I'm very happy about this. My last point, so many said that during the difficult times of the pandemic, you remember the first months when so many died, when we did not know exactly what to do. Many were saying that the online masses really became a source of strength for them. They could not go to church. They were so afraid to go out of their homes. And the online mass was their only source of spiritual nourishment. So I was really very thankful for that.
Okay. Father Aris Sison, Father, maraming salamat po.
Salamat. God bless.
Hey, Father. Ingat po.
And that's all we have for the chiefs. We hope what was discussed will keep the conversation going. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. Ako po si Roby Alampay.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.